I don't wish it on him, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? I don't wish it on him. And I love him through it. Whatever he going through, I love him through it. Much criticism as I receive about my son, I would like to shed light on the fact.
You're not going to believe how fast everything flipped for the Harris family. One day, the hip-hop world was moving like normal shows, interviews, petty drama online. And then suddenly, everything went silent. According to what's being passed around right now, King Harris, the son of rap legend T.I., isn't on live talking crazy or flexing cars. He's in an ICU bed fighting for his life. The picture people keep describing is brutal. King's hooked up to wires and machines, his skin pale under harsh hospital light, every breath and heartbeat tracked on a monitor. On the other side of the glass is just two broken parents. T.I. and Tiny, usually seen smiling for cameras, are now standing there shattered, watching their son lie almost completely still. No jokes, no attitude, no noise, just the cold sound of machines doing what his body can't. Fans who watch this kid grow up in front of cameras don't know how to process it. The same internet that clowned his wild moments and viral clip is now flooded with prayers and stay strong messages. People are replaying old videos like they're trying to hold on to a version of him that feels a million miles away from that hospital room. But the part that really has everyone on edge is this. The story going around says this wasn't just some random fight or simple accident behind bars. People close to the situation are whispering that something way darker went down inside that prison, something planned. And if even a piece of that is true, then what happened to King Harris might not just be a tragedy, it might be a setup. According to the story that's been spreading, that day inside the prison didn't start like some wild riot. People say King was actually trying to stay out of trouble. The block was loud and tense, and instead of jumping into it, he walked away. A few inmates claim he told them he needed space, needed to think, maybe figure out his next move in life. No big fight, no shouting match, just King trying to cool off and clear his head. Then everything flipped in minutes. Screams echoed down the hall. Alarms started blaring. Guards took off running.
Children gonna be children. Kids will be kids, man. You know what I'm saying? I expect that from them. I expect them to do the wrong thing.
By the time the chaos settled, King was on the floor, not moving. He was rushed out and taken straight to the hospital. The way his injuries have been described online, they didn't look like the mess from a random scuffle. They looked targeted and brutal, like someone knew exactly what they were doing and exactly who they were after. And here's the detail that really made people suspicious. The camera, in a place wired with surveillance, the same system that catches every argument and every move. The footage from that moment was suddenly gone. The story is that the security cameras just happened to malfunction right when King was attacked. No clips, no angles, nothing. When T.I. and Tiny rushed to the hospital that night, shaking, crying, calling their son's name through the glass, they were told his condition was critical. Outside, fans started gathering, lighting candles and praying. But beneath the tears and hashtags, one question started to spread like wildfire. What if this wasn't an accident at all? It didn't take long for the whispers to turn into full-blown rumor. People claiming to be on the inside started saying King hadn't just rubbed a few inmates the wrong way. He'd crossed the kind of people you never want to upset. According to those stories, he had stumbled onto something he wasn't supposed to see. Secret deal, money moving under the table, contraband allegedly flowing through the same officers who were supposed to be protecting him. If there's any truth to that, then King didn't just become inconvenient. He became a problem.
GOAT reasons you gone viral. I graduated. That's the only good thing they posted of me going viral.
The best one for me is King Latifah.
I ain't never get my t-shirts made. T-shirts.
Hey, well, to tell you the truth. Yeah.
When the family pushed for answers and allegedly demanded to see the footage from that night, they were told the same thing. The cameras malfunctioned. Every angle that should have shown exactly what happened just happened to fail at the same time. No video, no proof, just a bloody, broken body and a technical issue. To a lot of people, that didn't sound like bad luck. It sounded like someone made sure there was nothing to see. T.I., the man known for being proud, loud, and in control, was suddenly being described as completely broken outside the ICU. One line that supposedly slipped out of his mouth hit the internet hard. I don't care about justice. I just want my boy to live. People replayed that sentence over and over. Some heard a desperate father. Others heard a man who knew this wasn't random and was too scared of what was behind it to even ask for the full truth. Yet, then another bomb dropped online, a leaked voice note from a nurse who said she'd seen the damage up close. In a low, shaken voice, she allegedly whispered that this wasn't random at all, that someone wanted him gone. That one line flipped everything. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about a fight gone wrong. It was about betrayal, silence, and fear so deep that everyone involved sounded scared to even talk on record.
Try to take the good with the bad and just let them know You go into prison if you keep it up.
And while the internet argued, doctors quietly warned the family that the next 24 hours might decide whether King ever opened his eyes again. Inside that hospital, things only got more tense. The way people tell it, King's condition kept swinging like a pendulum. One moment, his heart rate would spike like his body was still fighting. The next, it would crash so hard that doctors rushed in, whispering about swelling in his brain and damage that might never fully heal. Tiny couldn't stop crying. T.I. went quiet, staring at the floor like a man who'd seen too much and had nothing left to say. The hallways were heavy with panic and prayer, like everyone was waiting for news they were scared to hear. By the next morning, the whispers online had changed. This wasn't being framed as a prison fight anymore. People were calling it what they believed it really was, a hit. Cold, calculated. And then another alleged leak pushed things even further. A supposed voice note from a prison staff member started circulating, claiming guards were told to stand down just minutes before everything broke loose. That one detail set the internet on fire.
My name King, you know it, and your mama know it. On game what? On game what? Come here.
If the people paid to keep inmates safe were told not to move, then who gave that order and why? The silence from the officials made it worse. No clear statements, no real explanation, just tight lips and vague answers. Meanwhile, cameras followed T.I. everywhere he went. At one point, he reportedly cracked in front of them and said, "If my son doesn't make it, the world's going to burn." Some people heard pure heartbreak in that sentence. Others heard a warning. And right on cue, a few of his old enemies started popping up online with cryptic posts like, "Play with fire, it reaches your family." That's when fans started digging into old beefs, old drama, and old threat, trying to connect dots that maybe were never meant to be connected. Atlanta itself started to feel like it was on the edge.
You can talk to me. Until then, ain't nothing going. Call who you need to call, do what you need to do. Ain't nothing happening. No money, no beers, no partying, no sections, nothing. You put me and mine on the motherfucking flyer, give me everything. And if you can't, don't play with me. I don't know if y'all from here, but don't play with me in this city. It's my motherfucking city. Don't play with me in this city.
Crowds lined up outside the hospital with candles, posters, and chants of justice for King. It wasn't just mourning anymore, it was anger. And when videos hit the internet showing Tiny collapsing in the hospital hallway, screaming that they wanted to kill her baby, it broke people in half. Doctors had reportedly told them that King's skull showed signs of being hit with something like a padlock stuffed in a sock, a weapon people use when they're trying to do real damage. To a lot of folks watching this unfold, that detail erased any last hope that this had been some random scuffle that got out of hand. Within days, the whole thing started to feel less like a real-life tragedy and more like some twisted movie.
It's a lot easier when we're living under one roof. Now we just have to schedule time to have talks like this.
What's up?
I was trying to get to the bottom of things with King, trying to see if he
Huh?
Whoa.
Where you coming out with the word?
because King got a little friend, and he be in love like he's a lover boy.
Yeah,
No, I'm not. I'm a virgin.
It's other things.
that between him and his poem. Let him and his poem have the best time of their life.
Now I ain't talking about no phone.
What is you talking about?
A girl is involved.
A girl is involved.
Yes.
Whoa. Now I'm being responsible because I could have been one.
You supposed to know better than being out there and engaging in adult activity. Don't let a temporary itch dig you out a permanent ditch.
That's something Tip knows all about. Maybe he should be taking his own advice.
The hospital was surrounded, crowds getting bigger, cameras everywhere, reporters camping out on the sidewalk. Online, people were arguing nonstop. Some were screaming corruption. Others whispered that this was karma. A few swore it was revenge for something written in the streets years ago. Finally catching up to the Harris name. Nobody had answers, but everybody had a theory. Then an anonymous voice recording dropped and took everything to another level. The voice was shaky, clearly scared, and it said, "We were told to make it look like a fight, but the target was King." That one line hit the internet like a bomb. Nobody could prove if it was real, but it didn't matter. Screenshots, reposts, reaction videos within hours. It was everywhere. People started digging even deeper into T.I.'s past. Old beefs, old deals, people he'd clashed with, crews he'd crossed. Some said the attack was a message to him, meant to hurt him through his son. Others insisted it had nothing to do with rap at all, that King stumbled into something dangerous behind those walls and paid the price. Meanwhile, inside the ICU, things got even scarier. Rumors started spreading that at one point in the night, King's monitor flatlined. For a few terrifying terrifying second. The line went still, the sound cut, and it looked like his body had finally given up. Doctors rushed in, shouting orders, fighting to pull him back. Then, like something out of a miracle, the beeping returned. Slow at first, then steadier. He was still here, but just barely. Outside, when word leaked that he'd shown signs of life, the crowd lost it. People hugged strangers, cried, screamed his name into the night like maybe he could hear them through the wall. But even that tiny bit of hope didn't calm anything down. If anything, it made the questions louder. Who ordered the hit? If it was a hit, why did the cameras fail? Why was every witness either quiet or hiding behind anonymous accounts? T.I. finally had enough. According to people who were there, he stormed out at one point, shaking with rage, and snapped at the reporter. He told them if his family wasn't protected, he'd burn the whole system down. Some people called it a father's heartbreak. Others swore it sounded like a man who already knew way more than he could say out loud. As the days blurred together, the hospital started to feel less like a medical building and more like a fortress. Extra security stood at every entrance. Fans and supporters pressed up against barriers outside, holding candles, posters, and signs demanding justice. News vans lined the street. Cameras flashed every time someone from the family moved. But inside, past all that noise, the hallways were quiet and heavy, like the whole place was holding its breath. The family was beyond exhausted. Tiny had cried so much that there was nothing left, just a distant stare and a trembling hand clutching whatever she could hold on to. T.I. looked like a ghost of himself. Eyes red, beard rough, shoulders hunched under a weight that money and fame can't touch. Then came the moment no parent ever wants to hear. Doctors reportedly pulled them aside and said that if King didn't improve soon, they might have to start talking about removing life support. That sentence hit T.I. According to people who claim they were there, he snapped. His voice echoed through the hallway as he shouted that no one decides his son's fate but God. He made it clear he wasn't ready to let go. Not now, not like this. Those words spread online just as fast as any song ever had. People reposted it with captions about faith, pain, and a father refusing to give up, no matter what the charts or the machines were saying. Outside, the crowd doubled again. A sea of faces lit only by candlelight and phone screens held up signs reading "Justice for King" and "The system failed him." Some of them didn't even know the family personally, but they felt the injustice in their own lives and poured all of that into this moment. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any darker, something eerie appeared online. Out of nowhere, a mysterious Instagram account popped up and posted one cold, chilling line. "The sins of the father fall on the son." This was never about King. It was about T.I. Before anyone could trace it, the post vanished, the account disappeared. But it was too late. Screenshots were already everywhere. People started to connect that sentence to every rumor, every leaked voice note, every cryptic threat. Suddenly, the conversation shifted again. Maybe, they said, this wasn't just about a young man behind bars. Maybe this was about debts and grudges tied to his father that never really died. Not long after that eerie message started bouncing around the internet, the pain inside the hospital hit a breaking point. Tiny reportedly collapsed in the hallway after hearing that King's brain activity was fading. Her legs just gave out under her and she hit the floor screaming, begging God not to take her baby. T.I. dropped right down with her, clutching her hand, pressing his forehead to the cold tile as he whispered broken prayers. In that moment, there were no cameras, no stages, no fame, just two parents who were terrified they were about to lose their child. Even some of the nurses couldn't hold it together anymore. People say one of them quietly said they're just parents, like she needed to remind herself that behind all the headlines, this was the same kind of pain any mom or dad would feel. Money, awards, hit records, none of it meant anything in that hallway. All that mattered was whether the boy in that room was going to breathe on his own again. Then something happened that nobody expected. Out of nowhere, there was a flicker on the monitor, a tiny twitch, a change in the rhythm, a breath that didn't sound as weak as the last one. The doctors shouted for quiet and rushed back to his side. For a few long seconds, everyone held still while the beeping slowly grew stronger. It wasn't a full recovery. It wasn't some dramatic movie moment, but it was a spark, enough to make everyone in that room feel like maybe, just maybe, this wasn't over yet. Outside, word traveled fast. King Harris showed signs of life, started flying around social media. People in the crowd screamed, cried, and dropped to their knees in prayer. Some hugged total strangers like they'd known each other for years. After days of holding its breath, Atlanta finally felt a tiny exhale. But even as hope started crawling back in, the questions around what actually happened only got louder. Inside, the prison still wasn't talking. No detailed report, no footage, no name, nothing but silence and excuses. The Harris family's lawyer publicly called it one of the biggest cover-ups the state had ever seen, accusing the system of hiding the truth about what went down that night. And then T.I. added fuel to that fire with a message that spread like wildfire. "They tried to break me through my blood, but we don't fall that easy." That one line became an anthem for fans, families, and anyone who felt like the system had tried to crush them too. As the sun finally rose over Atlanta, the hospital didn't look like just another building anymore. It looked like the center of a storm. Outside, people were still there, hoarse from chanting, tired from standing all night, but refusing to go home. Candles had melted into puddles of wax on the sidewalk. Posters with "Justice for King" and "Protect Our Kids" waved in the early morning breeze. Some people prayed in silence. Others stared up at the window like they were waiting for someone to step out and tell them how this story ends. Inside that ICU, the steady beeping of the monitor sounded like more than just a machine. It felt like the heartbeat of the whole city, weak, fragile, but still going. Doctors moved carefully, checking numbers, adjusting lines, doing everything they could while admitting there were still too many unknowns. Whether King would fully wake up, whether he'd ever be the same, whether his body could bounce back from that level of damage, nobody could say for sure. And that uncertainty weighed heavy on everyone watching. What made it even harder to swallow was how much of this story was built on shadow, leaked voice notes, anonymous accounts, vanishing posts, people too scared to use their name, claims that guards were told to stand down, that cameras failed, that the attack was staged to look like a fight while really targeting one person, rumors that it was about prison corruption, rumors that it was about old street politics, rumors that it was about unpaid debts from years ago tied not to King, but to the man who raised him. The deeper people dug, the more it felt like the truth was buried under layers of fear and power. The prison stayed quiet. Officials spoke in vague statements that said everything and nothing at the same time. No one stepped up to give a clear timeline. No one explained why there was no footage. No one publicly owned the responsibility for keeping him safe. The Harris family's lawyer kept calling it a cover-up, saying there were files and answers locked away where nobody could see them. And online, more and more people started to agree. Whether every rumor was accurate or not, one thing felt obvious: the system had failed somewhere, and it didn't want to admit it. For T.I. and Tiny, this wasn't about politics or headlines anymore. It was about survival, about sitting in an uncomfortable chair night after night, listening to machines breathe for their son, about hearing doctors talk in terms of odds and percentages while they tried to hold on to faith, about looking back at old moments, old interviews, old advice, old warnings, and wondering if anything could have changed where they ended up. At the end of it all, they weren't a famous family. They were just parents staring at a hospital bed, hoping for one more chance. Still, there was something powerful in the way people rallied. Fans who grew up on T.I.'s music, people who barely knew who King was, parents who'd lost children to violence, and folks who'd been chewed up by the justice system themselves. They all found a piece of their own story in what was happening. This wasn't just about a rapper's son anymore. It was about how quickly a system can twist justice, how easily truth can be buried, and how hard families have to fight just to get answers that should have been there from day one. As the days went on, one thing became clear. No matter how much the officials tried to control the story, people weren't going to stop asking questions. They wanted to know why the cameras failed. They wanted to know who gave those alleged stand-down orders. They wanted to know why so many voices were saying the same thing, that this wasn't random, that somebody wanted King out of the way. And until those questions are answered, this story won't feel finished to anyone paying attention. So that's where things stand for now. A young man in a hospital bed, a family hanging on to faith, a city still praying, and a world watching through phone screens and headlines, waiting for the truth to finally surface. Whether King makes a full comeback or has to rebuild his life piece by piece, this situation has already exposed something ugly about power, protection, and who actually gets justice when the system is involved. In the end, even in the darkest moments, one thing refused to die: hope. Hope that he pulls through. Hope that the people responsible are exposed. Hope that one day, the full story won't be whispered in DMs and anonymous clips, but laid out in the open where everyone can see it. Until that day, all anyone can do is keep watching, keep questioning, and keep his name alive. If you want to follow how this all unfolds and hear more untold sides of stories like this, make sure you hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Because one way or another, the truth always has a way of coming out, and when it does, it's going to change everything people think they know about what really happened to King Harris.